So today, when I okay, so I want to start this talk on spirituality with one experience. You know, many years back, one of my aunts came to our house for a visit with her daughter, which was my cousin sister, but very, very young. And she was always dressed in a salwar kameez, my cousin sister, and they had come from Canada. And I was surprised that, if you were living in Canada, you would be more wearing Western clothes than wearing Indian clothes. So I asked her, I said, why are you always in a salwar kameez? Where are your shorts? Where are your t-shirt? Where are your leggings, and all of that. So, that was my conversation with her. And I remember, my aunt was little bit more towards being more dressed up and covered up kind of stuff. And after many years, I remember when I was once speaking to someone in the family, they told me that cousin sister or that cousin of mine is starting to wear a headgear and is covered fully head to toe, and that is a religious attire where you cover yourself completely and you also start wearing a turban, you know. And I said, what happened? And I didn't get much answer other than that my aunt is also starting to wear a turban and is covered head to toe. But I let go of this conversation which I heard from one of my family members. And then I remember after a year or so, or maybe after some years, when I went, you know, back home, my dad is telling me that, that cousin of yours? I said, yes. He said, her interview came in the newspaper. I said, interview? She's hardly 19 and she's never done any work. She's not even working anywhere. I said, who took her interview and for what? And my dad was a bit shocked that I'm not impressed that my cousin's interviews come in a newspaper. And more than the interview, I'm asking who the hell would take an interview of someone who is clueless or is just passed out from some college and is not even started working. I said, interview for what? And my dad said, oh, she wears the headgear and all this. She's now more religiously oriented. I said, so? I said, does that call for an interview? So my dad said it's seen as a lot of respect, right? That she's now starting to pray and is so religiously oriented. You know, and then I told my dad, can I see the interview? And my dad had a paper cutting. I said, can you show me the interview? But then my dad had guessed my reaction that I wasn't pleased any bit with the, interview of someone who's just dressed up in a religious attire and is starting to talk a lot of religion instead of living up a good life. And he just said, oh, no, no, I can't find the clip yet. I can't find where the interview is. So he never showed me that clip or that paper cutting. Now, this is one incidence where, despite living in the West, for some strange reason, my aunt starts wearing a turban and is fully dressed head to toe, and so is her daughter. Now, I will tell you another incidence or example. UK has recently installed one idol of a woman wearing a hijab. It's a very huge idol, and It's made by some very big sculptor and so on. And they say that this idol is being put up to honor the women who wear hijab. In spirituality, you should understand, you can see, if you are gifted in some way, you can see the future many, many years ahead. When I see these things, I can already see many, many years ahead of what is now going to come to UK when they put up an idol like this. One, when you put up an idol of a woman who's wearing a hijab and you say you are giving honor to her, of women who wear hijab, one, what is there to give honor to her? Every woman has a honor and should get a honor, whether they're wearing pant, shirt, skirt, top, blouse, party dresses, going to a club. Every woman should get a honor. What is so special about woman wearing a hijab? This is called soft brainwashing or making people tilt to religious orientation. This is also a way of making a woman who doesn't want to be wearing a hijab, making her fight very, very difficult to say no. So, these religious fundamentalists or people who are very heavily oriented towards religion do this religious washing by starting with things like these, that put up an idol and suddenly a woman who wants to maybe go to a nightclub or want to dance or party, maybe go to the beach, wear her two piece, or just want to be living in a westernized life, now can't do so because increasingly everybody will say, but it's better to wear a hijab. They're starting to condition people softly by putting up idols like these. UK doesn't know what kind of extremism is coming their way in another 20-30 years. If you think you're already dealing with enough terrorism and fundamentalist and radicalized mindset, this idol makes it even worse. What is there to honor a woman in a hijab? She has her honor. Is anybody disrespecting her? No. Why would you put up an idol? Now I tell you a third incident or event. I'm leading you somewhere. She is a immigrant who ran from a bad or atrocities in her country, Somalia. And she ran away as a refugee and landed up in USA, America, as a refugee or immigrant with her family. She studies in USA and now has become an elected member in the Congress. Her name is Ilhan Omar. And she says she wanted to win the election anyhow, or she wanted votes very badly. So she wanted to devise some strategy on how to get her votes or get elected. And she said, I went through the Constitution of America and it said you are not allowed to wear a hat, you're not allowed to wear this, wear that, except for a religious headgear. And she said, that's when I said, I should wear a hijab and I can get vote bank. And she did. People are using religion to polarize people. She's still an elected member in the Congress. One US or any other European country should not allow first generation immigrants into the politics. Not allowed. And you should listen to the nonsense she talks sometimes. Sometimes she says we were happier in Somalia. Send her back. That she will not go. And just for the power and politics, she started wearing hijab just to win the vote bank. She said that in the interview. And she will now start to radicalize and polarize people even more of why they should wear hijab and so on. Ask her give up your US citizenship and go to Iran or go to the rule under Taliban. Will she go? No. So, all the religious extremism begins when they get to taste the power that I should be at the top of the order. Willingly, she wears a hijab. There's nothing wrong with it, but her reason is wrong. There's a problem with refugees walking into European countries, Western societies, and other societies. Sooner or later, they will start a religious bent. What is the problem with it? Problem is now the topic which I have written in the introduction slide. This country used to be moderate. Even though it had a religious bent, it had a moderate way of functioning. And then comes in the new premier or the leader, and for reason not known to many or not so well published, he turns out to be ultra conservative. How did a society which is moderate suddenly have a leader which is ultra conservative? And what does he do? One, he's going after the religious bent so heavily that he doesn't even care whether it is humane or not to what he's doing to people. First time I heard about any problem in this country was when I heard about Mahsa Amini, a very young girl walking on the street, and her headscarf was slightly moved. Instead of maybe perfectly put on her head, it's slightly moved. It's no big deal. But they have something called as moral police who apprehend her and take her to jail. There shouldn't have been much to it, right? Problem happens when Mahsa Amini's dead body shows up. Will you kill people over this? But he does not back off as a leader. He doesn't take in as, oh my god, this should not have happened, go easy, don't make people suffer. He doesn't say that. He started to make more draconian laws where he says 10 years imprisonment. You will stay in the morgue room, cleaning the morgue room if you're seen slightly, out of the way. clothing is moved, and so on. He's going extremely, extremely strict and punishing. When is it convenient to do this? When you're sitting at the absolute top and nobody can touch you. Other case which comes is a woman who's in a train, and when you climb a train it will naturally happen, some clothing will move up or down slightly, or some headscarf will move slightly up and down, and that is what happened. As she got into the train, covered head to toe, some moral police ladies saw that her certain clothing had moved an inch or so, or slightly here or there. And mind you, the train has already picked up and started moving fast. And these ladies from the moral police just put a hand out and pull the woman out of the train. She cracks her skull. Is this spirituality? Is this anything to do with spirituality? Why is nobody correcting him? He's so punishing. And then, when all of this is done, next day they announce that they have arrested that girl who cracked her skull, being pulled from the train. Her parents have been arrested. Sir, anybody can yield power like this if they don't have any answers to give to anybody on humanity. Before he came, there was no pressure of women having to wear hijab all the time. He just turned the whole environment so within no time so tough and extreme. And you can't even say anything against the laws or policies they are making, because they are so punishing. They prosecute if someone says people should not wear hijab when they were already not wearing it, and it was okay to not wear it. On his own he decides, no, I want complete extremism, and I'm okay if people die or over nothing. So I want to tell something to him. This universe has a way to deal a hand. And I will request you to become moderate from ultra conservative outlook. Otherwise, you should watch one of my vlogs, which I'm mentioning in the description box. How the universe can decide who is true and who is not. The other problem with this country is it's exceptionally rich. The problem with being rich is if you don't know how to handle your richness or easy life, you start to create work in the society, and that is what the moral police is. Everybody has a unique connection with divine. You can tell and guide. What is there to beat up people? What is a moral police? Who has money to pay people to just check everyday basis if clothing is in perfect way or not, if this is as per the law or not. Who has money to pay people for work like this? Somebody who's very, very rich. So, if you didn't know where I was going with these many instances, I was coming here. The divine is not so difficult to meet and find. You don't have to be doing so much to be one with the divine and spirituality. You could very well be enjoying and living up your life. But if you choose to live in a certain way, you cannot impose it on your people. Why is there no law to stop him? Why none of the Muslim nations will stop them or stop the premier from changing the outlook of the country? You may be the richest. This is where Muslims fail to intervene, guide, and improve. Why is nobody telling Ilhan Omar, your reason is wrong? You cannot wear a hijab for, picking up votes. Why is no westernized person saying we don't want an idol of woman wearing a hijab to give the women who wear hijab honor? Every woman has honor. What is so special about giving honor to women who wear hijab? It is all coming from the rich Muslims. Slowly they want to cover the world with their Islamic philosophy. So they come in running as refugees. Ilhan Omar comes running in as a refugee to America. And then she starts wearing hijab and starts saying, I was happier, we were happier in Somalia. Go back. If you're so ungrateful for a good life, go back. Where are your laws to stop it? Can anybody stop this country where Masa Amini got killed? Can anybody stop or change the outlook of this premier? You know how difficult it is now? Because they are powerful and it's gone out of hand. So you have to stop it right in the beginning. Don't let religion get into the politics or way of life. You have to stop it. It's my disappointment when I talk about all of this topic today is that one, religion is supposed to be very, very a personal experience with divine. You don't have to impose it. You don't have to glorify by taking interviews. Someone took an interview of my cousin just because she wears the headgear and is religiously attired. Somebody's put an idol saying that let's give honor to women who wear hijab. What happened to the honor of other women? Then some refugee, she runs away from her country because she can't live with how that country is, which is also Somalia is mostly a Muslim dominated country. She runs away from there to come to US and start talking the same thing. Go back. Because nobody can now correct this country where they're killing and beating people up over, slightly a headscarf moving and forcing people to wear it. Wear the hijab and be dressed in a certain way. Nobody can correct the premier. So I would just say that would he be willing to accept that he is in the wrong and change his outlook if we have a discussion about spirituality? You should check my titles and let's come on board.